The bodies of South African soldiers who died last month as the M23 rebel group took Goma in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo were recovered this week and repatriated through Uganda. The timeline of arrival in South Africa is yet to be confirmed. Leon Ssenyange joins me now from Kampala, Uganda, to give us the latest. Leon, this has been a protracted and complex exercise to get the bodies repatriated. What do we know as the latest on the ongoing repatriation efforts?
Indeed, Oliver, this has indeed been one of those processes that has been keenly followed every single path. I'll start with how the movement of the remains of the fallen soldiers from Goma down through to Rwanda and then crossing the Rwanda-Uganda border at the Chanika border post. It's a 10-hour journey between that border point to the capital city, Kampala. And just as of this afternoon, the remains arrived in the capital and straight to the main hospital, Mulago Hospital in the capital for the medical procedures there, the post-mortem, and possibly the reports that will be coming out of that particular procedure. Thereafter, the remains will then be moved to the UN logistics base in Entebbe. That's another approximately 33-kilometer journey from the capital city. And like you say, rightly so, it's not yet determined when the full repatriation to South Africa will happen. But overall, it is 18 bodies that have been moved, the 14 of the fallen South African National Defense Force, and 2 from Malawi, as well as the 2 from Tanzania.
Yeah, we know that different efforts are being taken by different countries to get the bodies repatriated. The South African delegation, or at least the South African diplomatic corps, had negotiated a return to South Africa on certain terms. Do we know if the bodies of the Malawian and Tanzanian soldiers are a part of the what is to be the repatriation to South Africa, or will they ultimately split out of Uganda, where the Ugandan bodies will be taken, where the bodies from Tanzanian bodies will be taken from Uganda to Tanzania and to Malawi, respectively, or do we know that, or do we not know that information yet?
Well, what we've been able to gather so far is that indeed the remains of the soldiers will be taken to their respective countries. The 14 will be flown to South Africa, the 2 to Malawi, and the 2 to Tanzania. This majorly has been the duty of the UN, in which the peacekeepers were working, and entirely it's fully their duty indeed to ensure that the peacekeepers are given an honorable send-off, and even still getting rightly so to the countries that they served under this kind of mission.
Yeah. There has been a controversy and complications with the repatriations of the bodies through Rwanda in particular as part of the repatriation route. And of course, that happens as the ongoing conversations are happening in Tanzania between the heads of state of the East African Community and the Southern African Development Community, of which, by the way, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, is a part of the ongoing conversations right now. Does the repatriation process play any significant role right now in the visual landscape of ultimately the ongoing conversations in Tanzania?
Well, it's critical to understand here that this repatriation has, in one way or another, indeed, played a very critical part with the discussions that are happening in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. If anything, all the states that have lost the soldiers belong to a particular community, that is SADC, and even still the East African Community. And these have been countries that are pertinent to trying to contribute peacekeepers to the conflict that is within the eastern part of the DRC. So it brings a bit of an issue to the conversation, and the collective effort that all the countries are involved in ensuring that they have the remains of their fallen soldiers repatriated. That could be on the peripheries. However, for many of the heads of state, the conversation now is, when can the crisis in the eastern part of the DRC come to an end? DRC has continuously accused Rwanda of supporting the M23 that stormed Goma, the provincial capital in the eastern part of DRC. Uganda has also had its own impact or challenges with the ADF they are in, which also exists in the eastern part of the DRC, and hundreds of other rebel groups that exist within that area of the Congo. So the discussion for many of the heads of state, like you mentioned, that is going on in Tanzania is about trying to find a solution to this crisis, regardless of what the sentiments may be from whether DRC or Rwanda or even still, how all have been able to support or otherwise deal with the crisis.
And just lastly and importantly here is, do you have a sense of the timelines? We're not yet sure when the bodies will be arriving in South Africa, but we have a sense that they are well en route after multiple complications. Do you have a sense of, at least from those that you've engaged, the officials that you've engaged, by when the bodies are expected to be in South Africa?
Well, that information has been slightly discreet, though, in given the process of the repatriation. But at least now that there's been a greater percentage of the movement of the bodies from Goma, where the conflict happened, now to Uganda, then the latter half of the repatriation process should be an easier one. But definitely it's expected that within the next maybe 24 hours, all that could be complete.
Yeah. Ssenyange, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate that update.